Alright guys, so welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Got the week 5 slate here for you, the main slate we're going to be going over, but I always like to do that quick recap of the previous week. And after two bad beats in week 1 and week 2, we finally got off to a nice little start there last week with the full slate that we posted on the Patreon page. That one cashed. We actually posted 2 lineups. One finished 181, one finished 173. Those were cash builds, okay? I really enjoy playing on the full slate, so if you guys want to check that out, head on over to the Patreon page. You guys can check that out right now. But also for the full slate, we had Case Keenum in our cash build, which was unfortunate. He missed 2 early deep balls to Trey Quinn, who was a value play for us. And then after that, he pretty much got pulled. But still, our cash build went for 143 last week, which was really solid, firmly in the profit line. So we look to continue that trend this week in week 5. I will say it will be a little bit more tough. It does seem like more of a GPP week. But with that being said, the cash line should be a little bit lower this week. So technically, it should be a little bit easier to cash this week. All right, so let's get into the quarterbacks for this slate. Now, there are a ton of decent quarterbacks on the slate. The problem is, I don't know if we can trust them, and I'll touch on that later on, but let's touch on the top end here. So really, any of those guys on the top end you can play. We got Tom Brady here in an excellent matchup. He should be able to get at least 20 DK points. Obviously, if he does that, you want to stack him with people like Edelman and Philip Dorsett. But you also have Kyler Murray, who honestly just seems like a safe cash play each and every week. I tweeted that out about 2 weeks ago. It just seems like that's going to be safe and easy every week. But you could also go with someone like Jameis Winston here in a great matchup. He did struggle, the first 2 weeks, but those two defenses are actually looking probably better than people predicted. So in 2 easy matchups, he went for over 20 DK points. He has another easy matchup going against the Saints. So honestly, I'm really not too worried about Jameis Winston. You could easily stack him with someone like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, maybe even going with OJ Howard as well. Going a little bit lower, though, my favorite cash quarterback is going to be Carson Wentz. Every game over 19 DK points. He just finds a way to get it done each and every week. Going against the New York Jets, I do not think that they are that good of a defense, so I do think that he'll be able to go out and dominate against them. It's harder to stack players with him, though, because they're not as obvious each week. Going a little bit lower, I don't like anyone really in that middle section. Sure, you could stack like Teddy Bridgewater with Michael Thomas. That'd be fine. Luke Falk with maybe Robbie Anderson. Those are two, I just don't love those plays, but obviously Teddy Bridgewater, if you didn't want to play Jameis Winston in this game, but you're trying to stack it, you could go this route with Bridgewater. Not going to be too bad, but not going to be great. Obviously, he hasn't done too much, but if they're playing from behind or if it's going to be a shootout, then obviously he's going to have to throw the ball down the field a little bit more. Then going a little bit lower, we're trying to find that value quarterback that we can play that's going to exceed their salary expectations. And maybe that's going to be Chase Daniels. I don't love that play, but the matchup's not too bad. He went for 12 DK points in, 3 quarters last week, which isn't great, but maybe he can just do that again, and that'd be fine, especially if you're putting him into a cash build. You could usually stack him with someone like Allen Robinson, but I'll touch on another player later on in this video that I also like stacking him with. All right, so moving on to the running backs for this slate, there are a bunch of good ones. Obviously, if you want to pay up for someone like Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara, you could definitely do that. I think I'll be staying away from Dalvin Cook in this game. Obviously, you could play any one of those guys, but I think I'm going to be starting my builds out with Ezekiel Elliott going against the Green Bay Packers. This is kind of an obvious play. The Green Bay Packers have just gotten torched the last 2 weeks via the run game. Ezekiel Elliott hasn't done that well, I guess you could say, DFS-wise, but still. I think 18 DK points is going to be his floor. Obviously, he could easily go for 30. We got David Johnson here as well. I really like this play. Should be safe and easy going against the Bengals, who just got dominated by James Conner and Jalen Samuels. David Johnson could operate out of the slot a little bit more too because Christian Kirk is injured. Now, maybe that adds like 3 more snaps into the slot, which could add up for maybe 1 more catch. I still do like this play, though, quite a bit, especially in cash. And even in GPPs, I thought he would have been an 8K play. Going a little bit lower, you got Austin Eckler, Leonard Fournette, and Mark Ingram all right there. All going to be great GPP plays. Austin Eckler's priced down, even though I still think he's going to be the lead back this week as they work Melvin Gordon back in. I think Melvin Gordon will operate in that Justin Jackson, Troy Maine Pope, or if you date back to last year, Austin Eckler role. So He'll still get his touches, maybe 10, but I think Austin Eckler is going to be the lead touch getter, and then the week after that, it'll be back to the normal where Eckler's in the reserve role for that. But at that price point, I definitely like Eckler in GPPs. Leonard Fournette was a player that we touched on last week for you guys. He just went off. So he's actually been getting quite a few targets, running a lot of routes in the passing game. It's just whether or not those checkdowns are coming. I do like that matchup decently. It could be a little bit better, though. Mark Ingram here, I do like as well. I told you guys in the first video at the start of the year that Mark Ingram is going to be one of those running backs who just goes off on certain slates. And we've seen that at every other week tick right now. So maybe he's due. I don't know. But I just wanted to bring that up one more time. Every week, Mark Ingram's going to be in my builds just because he's a great GPP build play each and every week. We got Aaron Jones here, who would probably just be a lock if Jamal Williams is out. We saw his volume and usage go way up with Jamal Williams out. But another thing I wanted to touch on is the Dallas Cowboys give up the most short pass routes out of anyone in the NFL. So obviously Aaron Jones, running back, if he's running pass routes like he did last week, those are all short and intermediate routes. So that's where Aaron Jones could dominate. So I really think that's going to be a strong play in cash and GPPs. Going a little bit lower, there's not that much down below. We do have to wait on one little bit of news. It's going to be James Conner. I think he'll play, but if he doesn't, then we would have to lock in someone like Jalen Samuels, but that's kind of going to be a wait-and-see approach. All right, so let's move on to the receivers here for Week 5. Now, it is pretty much loaded on the top end, but the only way I'm going to be playing those guys differently is going to be if I'm going to be stacking them. Obviously, we got Mike Evans here that you could definitely stack with Jameis Winston. Obviously, Chris Godwin right there as well. You know, if you're playing Jameis Winston, I think you just got to lock in both of those two. You could offset it one each, but, those are going to be strong GPP plays. We got Julio and DeAndre Hopkins, and I really don't mind that in a game stack as well, just playing both of them. Leaves you kind of thin elsewhere. I think the play that I'd want to go with the most is going to be Michael Thomas. Priced at 6.6K, this is going to be a solid play for us. You know, he's really been solid so far this year. I don't really get why he isn't above 7K. This is an easy matchup. You should easily get at least 15 DK points. So we can just kind of put him in there and go from there. Julian Edelman's going to be a play that actually I really do like. I respect the Buffalo Bills defense, and I think that's why Julian Edelman kind of struggled. He still saw the targets last week was 7. Just the receptions were kind of down. You know, Buffalo Bills defense is pretty good. I think those receptions are going to be there. I think the targets are going to be there this week. That's going to yield some really good success there. I think Edelman makes for a great GPP and also cash play, projecting him to score at least 15 DK points this week. Going a little bit lower, we have Larry Fitzgerald. I already mentioned that Christian Kirk is out. Maybe that funnels a few more targets to Larry Fitzgerald's way. And overall, he hasn't really been disappointing. Yeah, he only put up like 9.7 DK points last week, but still, I think he's going to make for a great cash play. I think you could stack him and Murray as well. Not going to be bad whatsoever. We got MVS here, who I really don't mind as a play with Devontae Adams out. People are trying to guess where the targets are going to go. It's safe to assume that it'd be MVS. And if that's going to be the case, he's obviously way too cheap. We still kind of got away in the injury news there, but I still do like that as a GPP play. Going a little bit lower, just trying to figure out the best return here. We got Cortland Sutton here, who we might worry about the matchup with Casey Hayward, but if he doesn't get that matchup, he's way too cheap here. He is one of like 9 receivers, I tweeted this out, that I've seen 7 or more targets in every game. Obviously, we really like that. That's what you want to target is targets in DFS, and Cortland Sutton has definitely been getting those. So one thing we are going to actively target, at least for the next few weeks, is slot receivers going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Willie Snead has been operating out of the slot somewhat. I really don't mind this play. He scored a touchdown late last week. That wasn't that great, but still. At that price point, I think it's worth it in some GPPs if you want to stack him with Lamar Jackson. We're going to go a little bit lower here. Guys, there are a ton of decent value plays at the receiver spots. You got Jake Kumaro, who's back healthy, our preseason darling right there. We got Auden Tate here, who has been getting quite a bit of usage and targets the last 2 weeks, especially now with John Ross injured as well. I think it's going to be a nice and safe play for us at that value spot. I don't see why we just wouldn't play him. I know Andy Dalton Did primetime Dalton last week, but Tate still got his last week. At that price point, he should hit value. We got another preseason darling from 2 years ago, really, Javon Wims. And I kind of want to touch on this a little bit deeper. So one thing that I do like to target sometimes is when it lines up is the backup to backup connection. We got Chase Daniels throwing the ball to Javon Wims. We saw Javon Wims get his most amount of snaps last week. I think that's finally his talent rising to his game level. And also, I think it's just because Chase Daniels is familiar throwing the ball to him. I really don't mind that as a really low-owned GPP stack. Obviously, if Javon Wims scores a touchdown, which he's more than capable of, it's going to be a great stack right there. I don't love it, but still, not a bad GPP play there for you. Maybe just is more of a shout-out for my preseason darling from 2 years ago. Finally getting some work. Gets me a little bit hyped up there. Then going a little bit lower, we still have the Arizona receivers, trying to figure out which one it's going to be. But we also have the LA Chargers situation that we have to touch on as well. Jeremy Davis here, he's not going to be a bad play just because it looks like Dontrell Inman's out. Looks like Travis Benjamin is going to be out. Then we got to wait and see on Mike Williams. This play is dependent on if Mike Williams plays or not. If Mike Williams plays, then Davis, I don't like as much. Okay. Definitely just more of a GPP flyer, low own, 5% play. But if Mike Williams is out, definitely like it a lot more. But we kind of got to wait and see on that news. And then I already touched on it. The Arizona receivers, there's like 4 that we could play. Maybe Andy Isabella operates in the slot a little bit more. That's what some people would think. I saw rumors that it might be Cooper, who they brought up off the practice squad. We just kind of got to wait and see that news. That could be like a Sunday. We look at their people that are warming up type thing and go from there. Kind of look at the beat reporters, what they're saying, who's going to operate in the slot for the Christian Kirk position, and kind of just go from there. But I do think like one of them is going to hit and exceed value there, especially at that price point. All right, moving on to the tight ends here. We still have some that are pretty mispriced. We still have Evan Ingram here, I think he should be over 8K. Sure, on paper this isn't the best matchup, but Minnesota hasn't been looking that good lately. Really don't mind this play. We could go a little bit lower with Darren Waller or Mark Andrews. If you want to do that, you can definitely do that. I'm going to go a little bit lower here because I really don't like to pay up for tight end normally. We got O.J. Howard here, who in this matchup, I just think he's due. We know that the touchdowns are going to come sometime. It's just a matter of when. In a high-scoring game like that this is projected to be, maybe this is the week for him. You can go with someone like Greg Olsen as well, who the targets should be there a little bit more. I also really don't mind Delaney Walker. The target should be there for him as well. But obviously we got Tyler Eifert here in the best matchup of the week, really for any position. Going against Arizona Cardinals, they have obviously yielded the most points to opposing tight ends, so I really don't mind that play whatsoever. We did see him get 2 end zone targets last week. He actually should have had a touchdown last week. Kind of glad he didn't because his ownership would have spiked up through the roof. All right, lastly, we're going to touch on the defenses. All right, so getting into the defenses, it's pretty simple. We got the Patriots going against maybe Dwayne Haskins, and if you would have told me that the Giants would have been going against Dwayne Haskins for more than a half, I would have locked in the Giants defense. Okay, he's just not ready to play. The coaches know it. They even said it. His preseason film looked bad. Patriots have been dominating. That's just going to be easy play. They could get 20 DK points again, and at that price point, kind of tough to pass up. But there's one other defense that is really sticking out to me, and that's going to be the Tennessee Titans going against the Buffalo Bills. And this is more so if they are without Josh Allen. We kind of got to wait and see. He's in that concussion protocol. But if Matt Barkley is going to be the quarterback, I am definitely going to be playing the Titans defense in a lot of my builds. And that's pretty much it, but I did want to call out one other defense, just because it's kind of weird. We got the Washington Redskins here, who they haven't won negative yet this whole year. And they're priced at under 2K. Okay, even if they go -2, that frees up quite a bit of salary for you to pay up for other positions, especially maybe in cash. You kind of just throw this salary away and pay up for a bunch of studs. Just kind of wanted to throw that out there. If you like your lineup enough to do that, not a bad operating procedure. I definitely don't like it. We would want them to get at least 3 points. All right, that's all I have for you guys for this Week 5 slate. If you guys want to become a Patreon, join 9to5 Nation, you can. It's $10 a month for NFL, $5 a month for PGA, It's the combo membership is going to be $14 a month. So that's all we have for you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a like and subscribe. As always, let's keep cashing. Thanks.